Hello, Tanya here from myslope.com, here to walk you through the MySlope collar pattern and to show you how you can integrate it with the other MySlope tools to further your pattern drafting capabilities. So I'm going to use the open back leotard as a good example for today because we have all the measurements dynamically updated. I will be going through all the tools and trying to update with more of the pattern info, so that way this collar pattern becomes easier to integrate. But you could also, if you're working in CAD, take the neck measurement and then use the collar pattern, or if you're working with paper, just kind of measure it out with your measuring tape. But obviously I want the tools to be as easy to use as possible. So the collar pattern takes a couple inputs here. So we have the centimeters, we have inches, we have the neck circumference, we have the neckline circumference, collar height, and then we have our seam allowances. So I'm going to use like I mentioned, the open back leotard as an example today. I will use the Missy Straight size 2 for my demo. We're going to draft in inches, and then we're going to this doesn't matter too much, but I'm going to throw it in anyway. 0.25 seam allowance all around, very simple. So we're going to download our full page, and then we're going to take a look at our neck info down here. So we have our total back neck length, no seam allowance, total neck length, no seam allowance, and total neck length with seam allowance. So we want this middle one here, our total neck length with no seam allowance. So this is essentially going to be the combination of this curve here and this curve here combined. And yeah, we'll pull that in to our collar pattern. So first things first, actually, we're going to pull in our neck measurement, 13.75. So we're going to inches, 13.75, neckline circumference at the bottom here, total neck with no seam allowance, we're going to go 19.96. And let's say for our collar height, we want something really dramatic. I'm trying to eyeball it here. Guess you would measure this. Also, quick note here, neck circumference, if you want to make sure it's not super tight, there's no negative ease applied to this measurement. So what you put in is what you're going to get out. And if you want a little bit more positive ease because it is around the neck and you don't want to strangle your dancer, your client, or yourself, you could throw in a little extra. So let's go with 14. We're going to throw in a little extra ease in there. Collar height, let's go with a 1.5. And seam allowance for the inner neck edge, so that is going to be inner neck, outer edge. I'm blanking here, so I'm going to put 0.25. I'm going to put 0 just to show you where all the seam allowances go, and 0.25. So side seams, okay, inner is going to be what is going to be going around your neck. And then outer edge is going to be what's attaching to your garment. So we have our 0.25 seam allowance around here, and we have our side seams here. So you would essentially cut out, depending on what you're doing, you would cut out 2, and then you can sew the 2 together and then attach this bottom seam to your garment. If you wanted to use the binding method, I've gone over this in another video. I need to refresh my math there. You'd be doing fold over elastic as like a binding method, almost like color blocking, where you would do double your seam allowance, 0.25, then you would fold it over. I'll do another video on the binding method specifically. But this is just quick collar. Quick, easy, high neck collar for a classic dance look.